こんにちは、ハリケーンフットボールです。本日の教材は、リーズユナイテッドの田中碧に関する動画です。ワンリーズユナイテッドファンチャンネルにて、移籍市場の噂や動向などについて話しています。現時点ではアーセナルとの噂が少しだけあったようですが、それ以外には田中碧の移籍の話は全くない状況でも、特に PSR の観点で、田中碧を売却する可能性について話しています。売却して最も利益が上がるのが田中碧であって、それで補強ができるという考え方ですが、同時に、フィジカル面での懸念点もあると話しています。チームのベストプレーヤーである田中碧を中心としてチームを組む場合に、ダブルボランチの隣にはフィジカルモンスターが必要だと話していますが、テクニカルなスキルのある田中碧が必要である一方で、フィジカル面でのバトルを考えると、田中碧ではないオプションが現実的かもしれないとも聞こえます。実際にコナーがどのように話しているのか、チェックしてみましょう。
Okay, where are we next? Okay, so I wanted to talk about something this morning which is probably going to get a lot of you hot under the collar. So, Tanaka. I want to preface this by saying this is a discussion point, a debate, okay? And I want you guys to talk in the comment section below and let me know what you think, of course. Now, Leeds United and Tanaka is a match made in heaven. Technically, intelligence-wise, movement-wise, as a midfielder, he's outstanding at championship level. Outstanding on the international circuit as well. Multiple player of the game awards is seen as a big component to the Japanese national side. And the Japanese national side is very, very good. Very good in terms of a technical level. My conversation this morning to you guys from a PSR perspective, and this was put in our WhatsApp group this morning. Obviously, Tanaka was signed for around about £3 million. I wonder if Leeds, with the margin from what we bought him for what we could get for him right now, I wonder if Leeds United would consider selling Tanaka this window. It was put to me the other day, and I thought to myself, that from a boardroom perspective will be mental in terms of PR, in my opinion. I think there is, I literally think he's irreplaceable for the value that we got him for. I think he's outstanding. I love Tanaka. I would probably say he's my favourite player. But you've got to balance, of course, the financial with the squad stability. And we've just heard a comment there about Arsenal. There's been a couple of comments as well online about, him being a target. And I think he will be a target this window. I think, like we've seen with Sander Berge, like we've seen with Iliman Ndiaye when Sheffield United came up, I think you are going to get a club putting a cheeky bid in for Tanaka. And I wonder, as a Leeds United fan, I wonder how much you think would be acceptable for Tanaka. Now, let me give you the reasonings. Obviously, he's turning 27 years of age this year, I should say. And I think when you look at how Leeds are going to be approaching the Premier League season, okay, we're going to be against the ball a lot, a hell of a lot, which for me instigates that you need stamina, physicality, athleticism, power in that midfield. And what does our little metronome have? A technical ability, which is probably something that we've, in my lifetime, aside from the early noughties, I've never seen anything like it when it comes to Tanaka, in terms of his being able to dictate a football game by himself. I think in a high possession-based system, and even for his national side, when a lot of the times when they're playing in the games that they're playing in the part of the world that they're playing in, they're dominant. As a Leeds United in the Championship, dominant, high possession-based system. Leeds are not going to have that in the Premier League. We are going to be against the ball a hell of a lot. We will not have as much dictate tempo of play ability. We will be against the ball probably in 95% of games. So that insinuates to me that it's going to be a huge level of intense physical battles in there. Now, for me, when Declan Rice was speaking about him the other day and saying he absolutely loves watching him, he is, he said he's a brilliant footballer. That's exactly what he is. a brilliant footballer. I look at the teams in and around the bottom, and if you're a big Premier League watcher like myself, you kind of look at some of the partnerships. Gomez and Andre for Wolves are just monsters, absolute monsters at getting about the pitch, pressing teams back, especially under Pereira, pressing teams all the way back, having that stamina and physicality level of which makes teams uncomfortable. And that has effectively been the partnership which has seen Wolves do really well toward the back end of the season. And these are teams in and around Leeds who we're hoping to drag in. West Ham, Edson Alvarez, Souček and Paqueta. Monsters. And they've been terrible this season. Really, really poor this season. Now, for me, it would not surprise me, with the financial side of which we've been talking about, if the boardroom at Leeds are at least considering the potential of Tanaka being sold this summer, based on the PSR, obviously the financial side of it, which we're all talking about. The profit margin Leeds could make from Tanaka would be massive, but obviously maybe looking at the physical side of the game. But I think there's a way around that. But it all depends on pragmatism. It depends obviously on Daniel Farke, but it depends on the 49ers being able to dot certain players and profiles around Tanaka, which is going to get the best out of him. So if you take him out of this side right now, I mean, you're taking the best player out of you're taking the biggest component out of a clock. That's what you're doing. Someone who dictates time, literally, for Leeds United. Now, I'm interested to hear what you guys think in terms of this. As I say, it's a discussion point. But as you said, I think the rumours are going to increase with Tanaka. I think this is going to happen. And it's going to be about Leeds' resolve. But I wonder how they match him up against other midfielders in the Premier League right now, because the Premier League has taken a mad turn, in my opinion. A mad turn. There's been a taking away of focus from number 10s. There is now advanced 8s. And the reason that's coming to the midfield is because you need stamina, you need monsters, you need physical prowess. So it has turned into that. We've seen it with Man City with the back four, where they're just all 6'2", 6'3". We are seeing the Premier League take a very interesting swing to maybe former years. You know, they're technically proficient, but now there's a mad focus. You've got Arteta at Arsenal, throw in City, a mad focus on physicality. And I think when you look at the 3 promoted teams that came up last season, they got it all wrong. So Tanaka is obviously a diminutive midfielder, 5'7", but the key notice here is when you're all finding examples, what teams are they playing for? What teams are these playing for? Are they teams that are going to be maybe dominating the ball, or they are going to be proactive in possession, or are they teams that are in and around the bottom? Because I don't think you get many double pivots who have the technical level of Tanaka, but maybe are missing the physical output that Tanaka has against some of these midfielders. It's interesting. Let me know, and let's have some interesting discussion points. And I'm going to get into some, and someone mentioned it a little bit earlier on about the tactical side of things. For me, you look at someone like Morgan Gibbs-White at Nottingham Forest. Okay, and when Gibbs-White came in their first season in the Premier League, they've tried to dot around physicality around him, whether or not it's, Mangala, Ryan Yates, and now you're kind of looking at Dominguez, you're looking at Sangare, Elliot Anderson. These are absolute monsters, physically, stamina-wise, that you are dotting around Morgan Gibbs-White to facilitate Morgan Gibbs-White. And by the way, Morgan Gibbs-White is also a bit of a monster when it comes to a press, stamina, physicality. But I don't know, in the Premier League, let me know in the comment section below, can you have Tanaka in a double pivot in the Premier League next to an Ampadu? Now, there's a conversation that Ampadu, in my opinion, I've always said he's a Premier League player. I think he's a Premier League player. I think Tanaka is a Premier League player. But the output that Ethan Ampadu is going to have to do to compensate, maybe physically, for Tanaka is going to be massive. I think now in the Premier League, especially as a newly promoted club against the ball, I think you are going to have someone with a monstrous physical output and maybe, physical stature to be able to compensate for Tanaka. Now, what are the solutions there? For me, Leeds have got to go against the grain and hold, Do you need adaptability for maybe a Willian Yonto? Can we sell him on? There's a conversation there, of course. Strout, Matteo Joseph, of course. But what be if they want to keep hold of your Stroud? What be if they want to keep hold of your Nonto? You know, Nonto's effectively proven in the Premier League before that he can do it. You know, he can at least, you know, be at that level when he was 19, and be one of Leeds' sort of star players. So they might be looking at that, you know, and obviously he's a winger. So it's very different sort of components that you need in comparison to a midfielder, of which I think a midfielder, I've said this to you guys several times before, I think in the midfield in the Premier League, it's the most important position. You win and lose games in the Premier League every single week, hence why some of the best players in the world now are in the midfield. So Leeds against the ball is so interesting. I think potentially for Leeds United in the Premier League, you might need to change formation and be pragmatic and be adaptable to facilitate out Tanaka's game. And someone mentioned it a little bit earlier on, and I completely agree. I think you almost need, we're talking about this season when you're looking at Forest as just an example. Against the ball, quite a bit. I know they've finished where they've finished, but Forest aren't a dominant, heavy team. They didn't expect that. They've never been that. But you sort of protect some of your technically efficient players, and you might have to do that without Tanaka. You know, your Dominguez, your Sangare, your Elliot Anderson, but previously as well, when you're looking at Ryan Yates and Mangala, they've always tried to protect that technical player with absolute brute physicality and quality, of course, but it's interesting. And I wonder if I think there's going to be a team or two who are going to test the waters with him. So that's the conversation this morning.
次は解説です。ライブでの長い動画であるため、あーとか、とか言いながら話したり、完全な文章ではなく、バラバラとした文章で話すことも、少し聞き取りや理解が難しく感じるポイントになるかもしれません。今回の動画には、あまり多くは聞かないようなボキャブラリーもいくつかありましたので、本日の解説をチェックしてみましょ
う。Is probably going to get a lot of you hot under the collar.
ホットアンダーザカラーは、よく使われるイディオムの一つで、直訳すると、襟の下が熱くなるということです。これは、怒ったり恥ずかしさで感情が高ぶった時に、顔が赤くなったり、体温が上がる様子をイメージしています。日常会話では、怒っている、イライラしているという意味で使われます。ゲットやビー動詞とセットで使うのが一般的です。特に、議論中や自分に不利なことを言われた時など、感情が抑えられない場面でよく登場します。状況を和らげる時にも使える表現なので、口語表現として覚えておくと便利です。
Is probably going to get a lot of you hot under the collar. Is probably going to get a lot of you hot under the collar. I want to preface this by saying this is a discussion point.
プレフィスは名詞として使うと序文や前書きという意味になります。主に本の最初に著者がなぜこの本を書いたのか、何を伝えたいのかなどを語る部分で使われます。動詞として使う場合は話の冒頭で前置きする。なんなんと断りを入れてから話を始める。といった意味になります。例えばスピーチの前に、これはあくまで私の個人的な意見です、と言っておく場合に使うことができます。この表現を使うと、丁寧で論理的な印象を与えるので、フォーマルな場面やプレゼンテーションなどでとても役立ちます。
I want to preface this by saying this is a discussion point. I want to preface this by saying this is a discussion point. Now, Leeds United and Tanaka is a match made in heaven.
A match made in heaven は、英語で相性の良さを強調したいときに使われる表現です。天国で結ばれた組み合わせという意味から、恋愛中のカップルに対してだけでなく、仕事上のパートナーシップ、スポーツチーム、料理の組み合わせなどにも使えます。例として、コーヒーとチョコレートのように、完璧に相性がいいという意味で日常的に登場します。英会話や映画でもよく使われるので、覚えておくと表現が一段と豊かになります。
Now, Leeds United and Tanaka is a match made in heaven. Now, Leeds United and Tanaka is a match made in heaven, which for me instigates that you need.
インスティゲートは物事の始まりをわざと引き起こすという意味で使われる動詞で、特に暴動や反乱、騒動など好ましくない出来事を煽ったり、誘導する場合によく使われます。口語ではあまり見かけませんが、ニュースや法律、ビジネスの文脈などで頻繁に使われます。日本語で言えば、先導する、仕掛ける、発端になる、に近いニュアンスです。使う際には、その行動が何らかの影響をもたらしたという文脈で使うのがポイントです。ネガティブな印象があるため、文脈に注意して使用しましょう。
Which for me instigates that you need, which for me instigates that you need, aside from the early noughties.
ノーティーズはイギリス英語で2000年代を指すカジュアルな言い回しです。ナグトはイギリスでゼロを意味し、ノーティーズは0年代のような意味になります。アメリカではこの表現はあまり使われず、ザ・ツーサウザンズと表現されることが多いです。主に文化、音楽、ファッション、流行などを振り返る文脈で使われるため、映画やポップカルチャーに関心がある人にとっては覚えておくと便利です。
Aside from the early noughties, so that insinuates to me that
インシニエートは何かをはっきりとは言わずにそれとなく示す時に使う表現です。例えば、相手のミスや裏切りをストレートに言わずに遠回しに疑いをかけるような場面で使われます。また、自分を巧妙に入り込ませるという意味もあり、人間関係や政治的な文脈で登場することもあります。ネイティブの会話では微妙なニュアンスを伝えるために使われることが多く、皮肉や不快感を含むことが多いため、文脈に敏感である必要があります。
So that insinuates to me that for me, Leeds have got to go against the grain and hold, you know.
Against the grain は直訳で木目に逆らってという意味から転じて、自分の信念や自然な行動パターンに反することを表す表現です。例えば、普段は正直な人が嘘をつく場合や、多くの人が支持することに反対意見を述べるときなどに使われます。自分の性格や価値観に逆らうことにストレスを感じるような文脈でよく使われます。英語圏の文化では自分らしさを大切にする場面が多いため、この表現は感情のニュアンスも含みやすいのが特徴です。
For me, Leeds have got to go against the grain and hold, you know. For me, Leeds have got to go against the grain and hold, you know. We're going to test the waters with him. So that...
テスト・ザ・ウォーターズは実際に飛び込む前に水の温度を確かめるように何かを始める前に状況を確認する表現です。例えば、新しいアイデアを実行する前や人間関係を進展させる前に相手や周囲の反応を探るときに使われます。英語ではビジネスや日常会話のどちらでも頻繁に登場します。慎重に行動する姿勢や段階的なアプローチを表すのに便利なフレーズです。日本語の様子を見る、試してみるが一番近い意味になります。ぜひ実際の会話で使ってみましょ
う。We're going to test the waters with him. So we're going to test the waters with him. So that...
いかがでしたか？田中碧のテクニカルなスキルと試合をコントロールするようなプレーは、リーズ史上でもトップクラスに素晴らしいプレイヤーというほどにいつも話しているコナーですが、やはりフィジカル面での懸念が大きいのだろうと思います。実際にボールを持てる時間が少なくなることを覚悟して、戦い方自体も変えないと、1年で降格するのが想像できるのでしょう。実際に田中碧がフィジカル的に弱そうに見えるのは、現時点では先入観の方が強いと思います。実際に対戦してみないとわからないことの方が多いようには感じますし、ただ体が大きくて重くて強いだけではなく、体の使い方で対応できる部分はあるはずですし、田中碧もそのタイプになるはずでしょう。本人は今頃必死に筋トレに励んでいる可能性はありますが、プレミアリーグの強度の強さは分かりきっていると思いますので、実際に屈強な相手プレイヤーに対して、田中碧がどのように戦うのかは、ただただ楽しみにしているところです。この動画も切り取っており、この後に視聴者からの質問に答えながら、まだまだ田中碧のことを話し続けていますので、需要がありそうでしたら、続きも扱いたいと思います。本日もご視聴いただきありがとうございました。またすぐにお会いしましょう。